My name is Kelly Colon. As he mentioned, I am a senior workplace advisor for Allsteel. In my role, I get the distinct honor and privilege to work with clients on not only their physical aspects of their workplace, but also their behavioral and their psychological aspects when they're thinking about their workplace strategies and return to office. So I know most of us, many of us, are sick of talking about COVID, right? How long? Every day, every presentation, everyone's talking about return to office, COVID protocols, and now resurgence everywhere. So my job today is really just to sort of share some perspective on what's happened, where we're going to go forward, and how that's going to evolve. Our team at Allsteel has developed a framework to help customers and clients prepare for this new reality. And I'm excited to share this body of work with all of you today. So our built environments will not accommodate people's needs until we integrate what we know with what we are learning about the human experience into their very design and composition. In a recent McKinsey study, 54% of organizations believe that remote learning is going to stick around or increase. Not shocking, we're 2.5 years into this, right? About 1/3 of employees, according to Gartner, report that their organization's culture has actually changed since the onset of the pandemic. Ironically, many of them have said for the better. What is clear is that despite our desires to pretend that COVID-19 didn't happen or to somehow revert back to pre-pandemic times, the reality is that both employees and organizations understand that shifts have and will continue to happen. Let's take a look at some of these shifts. So prior to March of 2020, we were all about cost savings. It was all office-centric, real estate-centric. Our goals were really around maximizing space, what I affectionately call the clown car theory. How many desks can we shove into this facility before it sets off a code issue, right? It was around minimizing real estate and operational costs. There was no desire to look beyond sort of minimizing those costs. Were we talking about user experience? Sure. We have, coffee and snacks, and that was pretty much the extent of it. Well, now we have shifted forward, and what we're really looking at now is a human-centric time. We are really thinking about maximizing space, the effectiveness, the adaptability, flexibility of space. We want spaces that are defined based on the work and the modes of work that people are looking for. And we really want to prioritize by well-being in different facets, the user experience. No longer can you simply build a facility, load it up with desks, turn the lights on, and expect it to be full. I think the biggest question we're asking ourselves is, can we really double down on this idea of the human experience? Can we make this the centerpiece of what we are looking at and thinking about when we design workplaces? Can we add up all of the information that we've been gathering about the science that's out there around environmental psychology, cognitive neuroscience, to really up our game and making this new workplace really focused on the human experience? It starts by understanding the very reason why we are going to the office in the first place. It's also about understanding the purpose of the workplace. In our discussions with employees, the rationale is extremely clear and pointed. They are coming back to collaborate. They're coming back to innovate. They want a sense of purpose, belonging. They want a sense of community. The workplace is evolving, and the employee is at the center regardless of what your organizations want. So why is this so hard? Why is this complicated? If all employees want to do is come back to collaborate, to innovate for a sense of community and purpose and belong, why is this so difficult? Why are we talking about it? This seismic shift in strategy is insanely complicated. There is no one-size-fits-all solution, which further complicates matters. We started our discussions at Allsteel around focusing on the outer gray circles, greenish gray circles. These represent what we think people are trying to solve for. What's on everyone's mind? Essentially the obvious. These are things like diversity, privacy, belonging, psychological safety. They're essentially the buzzwords of today. As we move inward, or we start to peel back the onion and we focus on the white circles, these are the tools in the toolbox. These are the things that we can leverage to actually execute on the outer gray green circles. They are things like human-centered design, activity-based planning, to name a few. We have taken all of these ideas and all of these tools, and we have clustered them together into 4 distinct pillars: choice, change, culture, and well-being, with the human or the employee experience at the center. It's no wonder that so many are challenged in this critical moment. See, solving for any one of these circles alone isn't going to give you a robust, holistic workplace strategy. Every organization needs to customize to navigate their next new normal. So where do we begin? How do you begin to navigate these complex, interwoven concepts into something tangible? The evolving workplace is a workplace strategy which we would define as the melding of all of these considerations into a program that considers how all of these topics interrelate and how collectively they can deliver a great user experience and organizational success. These 4 pillars are the roadmap to get us there. Employees are 4 times more likely to be extra productive if they love the company that they work for. Not surprising, it's those same employees that stay put. Why does it matter? According to the U.S. Department of Labor, 11.5 million workers left their job in the second quarter of 2021 alone. Let me ask you this question. Can your organization sustain that kind of turnover? The likely answer, I suspect, is no. Culture is no longer a buzzword. Beer on tap, free snacks, or coffee. It is a real, fundamental requirement for successfully building the workplace of the future that your employees are going to want to come back to. How then do we define it? Well, simply put, it's the way we've always done things here. It's the societal norms that workers have followed, sometimes unconsciously. Workers' experiences have everything to do with the culture that they've joined, and they want to focus on things like diversity and inclusion. Organizations need to promote and reflect those values. For years, people have associated their identity and their very connection to their organization through their assigned seat. And in a hybrid world where that may not exist anymore, a sense of belonging and purpose is even more critical. We know that there are certain factors that correlate to improved team productivity as well as individual performance, while reducing burnout, stress, motivation, and engagement also increase. Social cohesion being one of the key critical elements to allow that to happen. What is social cohesion? Social cohesion describes the bonds, the rapport, the empathy, right? The understanding that we have for one another so that we can each show up effectively in our own right and also navigate and operate as a team. We've identified 4 key ways to measure social cohesion for an organization. Fairness, which is directly tied and synonymous with equity. Authenticity, which is essentially walk your talk. If you're in, then your employees should be in. You should be doing what you're saying. Interdependence, that supports diversity. And lastly, belonging, which is synonymous with inclusion. If we get this right, if we get the culture right, so many of the other things are going to fall into place. Staying healthy is on everyone's mind today, which is why it's another pillar in our evolving workplace. 57% of employees are more likely to stay at their current company if their employer supports their values and their health and wellness. At a time when the talent war is fierce, attracting and retaining talent couldn't be more important. Well-being is not just a nice to have. It's a must-have. It's not just an employee perk anymore. It is something employees are using to determine when and where they will work. Well-being is about fostering physical and mental health, not just about preventing illness. The importance can't be overlooked, especially at a time when anxiety and stress are at an all-time high. It's not sufficient to place that responsibility solely on the square shoulders of your employees. Organizations have a role and a responsibility to play here. It's critical that the work culture and the built environment support well-being considerations to create a successful and meaningful workplace. We need to incorporate not just ergonomics, but also considerations with regards to lighting, biophilia, things of those nature. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to also help support culture. Now more than ever, with so many of us having an expanded range in the choice of how, where, and when we're going to be able to do our best work, it's for this reason that choice is yet another pillar. This expands far beyond the physical workplace, the traditional workplace that we thought of before. We know that organizations are now saying almost daily, am I going to the office or am I working from home? Do I want to work in a cafe or do I need a library? Or for me, do I sit in my car at the ocean? Which I have actually done. Knowing that there are many, many choices for organizations to provide for their employees, it actually enhances user effectiveness and engagement. It's personal. What's really important to understand that on a human level, this expanded choice directly ties and enhances our personal lives as we navigate the unforeseen and what we say are the constantly changing impacts of the pandemic, such as school closure, daycare closures, which a lot of times our employees, those decisions are navigate when and where and how they're going to work that day. This expanded choice allows employees a sense of autonomy and control they only ever dreamed of pre-pandemic. Linking choice to the physical space types and amenities together with a strategic work practice, this is where that magic truly happens. This holistic approach to supporting choice brings both strategy and space together. It enhances the overall human experience. Change. It's constant. Things will change, they will always change. The speed of that change and the factors causing that change are often the unknown variables. That being said, we can typically stand back and assess what's known to make intelligent predictions about what we can do, what will happen. For workplaces and organizations, that's taking the time to understand their culture, their short and long-term goals, as well as team and individual activities. Workplaces are a significant investment for any organization. When a new headquarters is being built, or an existing office space is redesigned, companies want to feel like that investment is worth it. They're asking questions like, how do we do that? How do we create a workplace that's worth the commute? I'm guilty of that one. How do we get that right mix of spaces? It's not always well received, but the actual answer is pretty simple. Plan for change. Designing a workplace ecosystem that can adapt as the organization evolves and changes is paramount. Businesses that thrive are the ones that can anticipate and evolve with the ever-changing requirements of the consumer. Employees are consumers of the workplace. Organizations need to make sure they're meeting the expectations of their consumer, their employees. Those expectations, however, are difficult to understand. The expectations of the employee pre-pandemic are dramatically different than the expectations of the employee today, and they will be different than the employee tomorrow. Your workplace needs to have a system in place that can keep up with those changing needs. So we often get the now what questions. How do we begin? What do we do with this sort of framework? Internally, we use a model called AEEA. And how we implement that alignment, so we talk to our clients and customers around what are their internal workings, what are their processes and procedures, is there alignment of business objectives, brand, cultural norms, are they effective, are they enabling and improving individual and team performance, are they efficient in both space and asset utilization, and are they adaptable? Like we just mentioned, can they change, can they evolve? We use this framework a lot to help them expand their ambitions, to realize that the workplace can do more than just be treated as an asset that needs to be used efficiently. So especially in this time of uncertainty, using this kind of a framework can help clients navigate the next iteration. Gartner posted back in June, I think, of 2021, this amazing quote about the future of work, and I believe it is just as relevant today. I'll paraphrase. It's time to reinvent key pillars of where, when, and how we work to create sustainable working conditions that maximize employees' engagement, collaboration, and productivity. To wrap up, we need to acknowledge that this is complicated. It's incredibly complex, and it's unique for every organization. It's not going to be solved overnight. That being said, taking steps to understand culture, well-being, choice, and change can help start to drive the conversations of what your workplace of the future should look like. Everyone in here is going to have a different workplace of the future. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. Thank you.